How's it going, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Galactic Tactics, your one-stop shop for all things Twin Suns and Star Wars Unlimited. Today, we're going to be looking at one of the other side of the Precon decks for the Luke and Vader. We're going to be tackling the Vader upgrade. So looking at that, we already did the Luke Skywalker version last week. This week, we'll be breaking down and upgrading the Darth Vader side into a Twin Suns starter deck for you and your friends. But before we get into the deck building, let's talk about how you, the amazing Galactic Tactics community, can support the channel. First, leave a comment. Super easy. Let me know what you think, anything that you want to talk about during the show, future shows, or just saying hey. Second, hit the subscribe button so you can join the Galactic Tactics community. Support us down below. I pull a lot of packs trying to get every card that you see on screen. So you can use our TCG link in the description to buy those singles that I have for sale. Check out Gamer Nerds with the affiliate link in the description, where you can get everything you need to protect your cards from Gamegenic, just like these Darth Vader double sleeves or the Twin Suns case we have back here. I absolutely love their products. Just by using that link, we get a little bit of kickback, cost you nothing extra, but help support the channel so that we can feed Robert, who I have trapped on a Star Destroyer above planet, forcing him to edit these videos. Thank you, Robert, for not trying to escape and continuing to be the best. And most importantly, spread the word. Tell your friends about Galactic Tactics and the Twin Suns community we have building here. It's a community channel, and we want everyone to feel a part of it. So, without further ado, let's get to the deck building. We'll be using the entire core, just like we did from the Luke Skywalker deck, giving us 29 cards to start, removing all the doubles, getting us halfway to that 60 cards we're looking for. Just like I said, we're only doing that because right now the minimum is 50 cards, but you can get 60 cards from the Gamegenic sleeves, just like I have here. So there's 60 in a pack, so we can sleeve everything up, no extras. So starting off with the cards that you can only get in the starter deck is going to be Darth Vader. That is going to be our main leader. The deck's named after him. His abilities, so Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith. For an action, you pay a resource and exhaust him. If you played a villainy card this phase, deal 1 damage to a unit and 1 damage to a base. So kind of like Sabine aggro, just costs a little bit more, does a little damage throughout. And then for his epic action, if you control 7 or more resources, deploy your leader. So it does take a few turns before you can get into Darth Vader, but once you deploy him, he is a 5/8 Force Imperial Sith. On attack, you may deal 2 damage to a unit. So he can defeat a smaller unit if it has Sentinel, about to die, and then go in for a base, or maybe take 2 things out at once. Super awesome, very aggressive. I have lost a few times in my deck testing, and won a few times with just deploying Darth Vader to finish out a game, as 5 damage does math again. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, that's 6. I don't know. There's math. Takes 6 hits just from Vader to defeat somebody, but by the time you have played Vader, you've probably done a little bit of damage to their base already. Up next, we'll be talking about Grand Moff Tarkin, Death Star Overseer. He is a 4 command villainy, 2/3. When played, search the top 5 cards of your deck for up to 2 Imperial cards, reveal them, and draw them. So a little bit of card advantage, especially as you're going to need to resource every single turn until about turn 8 or 9. You're going to have to drop things. So getting more cards into your hand, using them for resources, gives you more opportunity to pull a card you need in the meantime, possibly giving you that card that you need to deal with that one item, or just that extra resource card. Admiral Modi, someone tell me how to say his name right. He is a 2-drop villainy, 1/1 Imperial official. When defeated, you may ready a villainy unit. Super easy. Get off 2 attacks if you need to. Get your 2 attacks with your Darth Vader. That's 10. That is 33% damage to the base. Quick math. Vader's lightsaber is a 2 aggression villainy attached to a non-vehicle unit. When played, if attached unit is Darth Vader, you may deal 4 damage to a ground unit. So you have a guaranteed way to get Darth Vader onto the arena. So just dropping him deals an extra 4 damage. So it's possibly taking out 3 units with just Darth Vader and his lightsaber. And then it also gives 3 attack and 1 defense. You can put this on any ground unit. You just don't get that second ability without Darth Vader. Up next, I Am Your Father. Probably one of the most flavorful cards of this deck. I truly love it. It's a 3 and a villainy. I Am Your Father, Event Gambit. Deal 7 damage to an enemy unit unless that controller says no. No! You have to say it just like that. If they do, draw 3 cards. So this is really just a 3-drop, draw 3 cards. Most of the time, unless it's kind of the beginning of the game, people aren't going to just take 7 damage. So it's a nice way to kind of refill your hand after resourcing. And then if you have all the resources you need, keeping your hand full. Then kind of talking about the rares and legendaries, or I guess just the rares from this deck. We have Emperor Palpatine, who we will eventually have 2 copies of. So 8-drop, aggression villainy, Emperor Palpatine, Master of the Dark Side, ground unit. He is a 6/6 Force Imperial Sith official. All kinds of stuff in here. With Overwhelm, that's just kind of the trample mechanic. Whenever attacking an enemy unit, deal excess damage to an opponent's base. 6 isn't anything to scoff at. And when played, deal 6 damage divided as you choose among enemy units. So as soon as you hit Palpatine onto the battlefield, to the ground arena, then he is probably going to take something out with him. So this is awesome. Big body. Take something out when he drops. 9-drop Relentless, a space unit, Constantine's Folly. I can read Constantine's Folly. 8/8 Imperial Vehicle Capital Ship. The first event played by each opponent each round loses all abilities. So this is a nope card. This might be one of my favorite cards in the deck to start with. I'm just saying no to things like Overwhelming Barrage, a pretty heavily played tactic, or Maximum Firepower, just a couple removal things. So basically you're saying no to 3 people for their first card. So they really have to get something. They have to pay almost a cheaper event, use up the resources before they can play the one that they want. I really like Relentless in all formats, not just Twin Suns, but this is probably a staple card for all formats, especially Twin Suns, since it is a bigger unit. So definitely love that card. And then just kind of a notable one, General Veers, another one of my favorite cards. The 2 generals, both of them staples in Twin Suns. He is a 3 and a villainy. 3/3 Imperial Officer. Other friendly Imperial units get +1/+1. So big Anthem effect. The majority of the units in this deck are going to be Imperials. So for every unit you get down, it becomes a 3/3, then a 4/4, 5/5, 6/6. That big Anthem, it goes on top of Vader, on top of Palpatine, just giving that extra little boost. Up next, we will be talking about the cards that we are adding into the deck. So because, we only have 2 colors and 30 cards, we need to add a few more. So to get all the colors we need, we are swapping out the base with Capital City, so we can get the blue, and then Emperor Palpatine, so that we can get our green. So Emperor Palpatine, we are adding him in. He is a command villainy card. For his action, you use a resource and exhaust him, defeat a friendly unit. So he's got a big tax on him, deal 1 damage to a unit and draw a card. So this isn't necessarily something you might be using, especially in the beginning stages of the game, but maybe towards the end when you're trying to get to a card you're going to. I don't usually use his ability, but he's got all the keywords I want. And when we deploy him on with 8 resources, comes a 4/10 Force Imperial Sith official, so he's got all the things going on. When deployed, take control of a damaged non-leader unit. So this is really how you close the game, by holding on to Emperor Palpatine. Wait till they have a big unit. I actually ended up stealing someone's Bendu with him at one point with the Sentinel. Then on attack, play the next non-heroic, non-villainy card you play, costs 2 less. Got something down for free, closed out the game. It was super awesome. So Emperor Palpatine, when he hits the battlefield, he's a huge swing. And then on attack, you may defeat another friendly unit. If you do, deal 1 damage to a unit and draw a card. So again, we're not usually using that on attack ability. Again, you're kind of in the later games or the later turns as you play them anyway. So you might need that extra card draw to get to what you want, but really you want that take control of a damaged non-leader unit. Super awesome, super swingy. So we are looking at red, blue, green, aggression, command, vigilance. How are we gonna build the deck? So my big thought behind it was, you know, we have all of these force cards. We have force choke, force throw, force lightning. And I wanted to kind of build it out like that. So where are my force users? Make sure I have force users so I can use those abilities all the way. And make sure that there's always someone that can use it. So having the Inquisitors in is a big thing with the fifth brother, third sister. We want them in, but let's start breaking it down. I will start by going through the Vigilance cards, the blue cards. That is Vigilance, right? I can't ever remember. They're blue. They're blue. Way easier to remember. So we're going to start with the blue cards, as that is everything we're adding, all the notable ones for there. Starting with the Bendu. Again, the Bendu is a staple. There's actually a lot of cards in this deck that you can use with the Bendu. Agent Callus, again, another one of my bangers. A lot of the events, a lot of the just kind of little troopers throughout. So the Bendu, if you don't know, he is a 6 blue Bendu, the one in the middle. 4/7 force creatures, so you get that force keyword. Sentinel, the units in this arena can't attack your non-sentinel units or your base, so he's a blocker for you. He's a big blocker. He's got 7 health, so he's going to take a couple hits and kind of force people into attacking him so that you can get through and attack their base. And then on attack, the next, just kind of like I said earlier, the next heroic, non-heroic, non-villainy card you play this face costs 2 less. So he's also ramp, especially with, you know, a lot of these capital ships we're going to be talking about, these bigger units. We need as much ramp as possible as we can get. We're definitely going to be playing resupply to get it in there. Not resupply. Is it resupply? Yes, we'll be playing resupply. That way you can get to your leaders quicker, be a step ahead of everybody else. As ramp is super huge, since there's not a lot of turns really in a game. Even in Twin Suns, I've only ever been able to resource a max of 9 resources, and that's with resupply and DJ Death Star. So usually the games might be played out before you get to 9 or 10. So the quicker you can get there, the quicker you can win as you're playing more cards, getting ahead of your enemies. 3 other people, you got to get as much advantage as you possibly can. We talk about Gideon Hask next. He is a 5 for 5/5 Imperial Trooper. When an enemy unit is defeated, give an experience token to a friendly unit. With it being a multiplayer format, there are going to be a lot of units that can be defeated for every round, every phase. With having 3 other enemies, it's guaranteed that you are going to get that experience token off every time. Super awesome. You're going to build this up with everything else going on too. You will keep building. Avenger. So we're getting Avenger out of blue next. It is a 9 blue black 8 Imperial vehicle capital ship. When played and on attack, an opponent chooses a non-leader unit they control and defeat that unit. So you're swinging in for big money and you're taking something out. An opponent chooses a non-leader unit they control. It's any opponent. So you can swing at somebody and use the ability at somebody else to get another attack at later. Maybe for the next person, a little politicking that you can use this card with. But no matter what, it's a big body and it's going to swing face. Up next, we're going to add Electro Staff into the upgrades because we want to be a little more aggro, add these upgrades. It is a 2 in a blue attached to a non-vehicle unit. When the attached unit is defending, the attacker gets -1, -0. And it also gives your unit +2/+2. So If you have one of your bigger units, maybe even Darth Vader, if he is, if you have to be, you know, a little more defending, throw an Electro Staff on it. Does a little bit less damage to Darth Vader, but you're doing a lot more back, making Vader a 5/10, giving him a whole lot to kind of beat down with as well. And then the last rare for our blue that we added in, it binds all things. Heal up to 3 damage from a unit. If you control a force unit, which we will, you may deal that much damage to another unit. So you're healing, you're possibly defeating another unit. It's kind of that 1 for 2 possibly. Heal up, defeat someone else, gives you a little bit of board advantage as you go in. So that kind of leads into the force units. So we added a few force units like the Bendu, but also we are going to add the 5th brother. He is a 3 red-black, 2/4 force Imperial Inquisitor. So you get that force, you also get that Imperial. He gets raid 1, so when he's attacking, he gets +1 attack. And then on attack, you may deal 1 damage to this unit and 1 damage to another ground unit. So this is also a pretty good setup for Emperor Palpatine as well. You get in for the attack, maybe attack the base for 3, do a damage to him. He can take it 4 times. It also says you may, so you don't necessarily have to. And then get that 1 damage on something you're trying to steal with Emperor Palpatine as well. Or if they've been attacking at you, you've got a Sentinel and maybe they're down on 1, you can also defeat a unit this way as well. But definitely I use it to set up Emperor Palpatine to grab something from someone else that's not necessarily been hit yet. One of their big non-leader units, get that 1 damage on them without risking another one of my units, and then drop Palpatine the next turn to grab that, swing the board state into my favor. Up next, the 7th Sister. Again, we're going to be getting those Force Imperial keywords that help our events, as well as get buffed by our Imperial units. 5 red and the black, 3/6 Saboteur. So 7th Sister defeats shields as she attacks into somebody, as well as ignoring Sentinels, so you can attack right to the base if you need to. And when this unit deals combat damage to an opponent base, you may deal 3 damage to a ground unit that opponent controls. Like this a little bit more than the brother, as it's not necessarily as detrimental. You can do the same thing if it's a bigger unit, get that 3 damage on something to steal it as well. Another setup, but more for defeating other units. So dealing 6 damage altogether in 1 swing, super huge. Definitely why she costs a little bit more than the 5th brother, but you're also getting all your buffs from the Imperials, being able to search for them, maybe get an experience token from a Tarkin or something, but definitely fits in. And then as we get more sets, hopefully that in Imperial or Force, we can build onto that as well. Up next, let's kind of talk about the Force cards we're using. All these are going to be the events. We have 16 events in this deck. The first one, Force Choke. 2 red black. If you control a Force unit, this event costs 1 less, so it could just cost 1. Deal 5 damage to a non-vehicle unit. That unit's controller draws a card. So they give them a little card advantage, but for the most part, you're defeating a unit or kind of finishing off the unit, getting it ready for a setup, but definitely, you know, a 1 drop to defeat another unit, super awesome. Force Lightning, a 1 red and a black. Choose a unit, it loses all abilities for this phase. Then if you control a Force unit, which hopefully we do if you're playing this card, pay any number of resources and deal 2 damage to the chosen unit for each resource paid this way. Can get a little expensive, but if you really need it, this is a legendary card, super awesome. You got unlimited power. And I mean, it's limited by your resources, but you can keep popping it up if you need to get rid of another leader, a capital ship, super awesome. Force Throw, 1 in a red. Choose a player, that player discards a card from their hand. Then if you control a Force unit, you may deal damage to a unit equal to the cost of the discarded card. So a little hit and miss, but we're still dealing damage using the Force. Really love the art on this card. It's in the middle of Empire Strikes Back. If you did play this card and then play I Am Your Father, super on brand. No, just one of those little things that make me happy. It binds all things, 2 and a blue, heal up for 3 unit. We kind of talked about it earlier, but again, another force, 2 for 1, heal 3, deal 3. And then finally, Power of the Dark Side. You don't really need a force card, but I like to add it. Just an opponent chooses a unit they control, defeat a unit. If it's their last unit, kind of a board wipe, but definitely a way to get rid of another card with a little removal. So those are kind of the force cards we have in, and then everything else is really going to be, just kind of power. Ways to end the game. We're building up all of these resources. We're having to resource. We're drawing cards throughout the game. We want to end it somehow. Let's start with Avenger. We have a 9 blue-black 8/8 when played and on attack. An opponent chooses a non-leader unit they control, defeat a unit. Again, we kind of talked about it earlier. Swing in for 8, defeat another unit. Board politics. Devastator. Absolutely love this card. It is a banger. You can't play it. If you have it in your opening hand, just throw it back in, reshuffle. Otherwise, it's going to be burning a hole in your hand. We do have card draw in this deck, so it won't be the worst thing, but you're definitely not playing it anytime soon. This is how you close a game out. 10 green and a black, Devastator, Imperial Vehicle, Capital Ship. So you get that Imperial tagline, gets buffed up by Veers, becomes an 11/11, has Sentinel, so they have to attack into that in the space zone. And there's not a lot of big, ships in space for the most part. It's lots of TIE fighters, A-wings, 2-3 damage. This thing can take some hits. Has Overwhelm, so as you attack through something, you defeat it, you're still doing damage to the base. And then when played, you may deal damage to a unit equal to the number of resources you control. You control 10 units, or 10 resources. So this is you drop it, you're ending the game. You're defeating their big unit. You're going to swing into it next, if it lasts next turn. But either way, people are attacking into it. They're using cards on it. They're trying to destroy it. It only takes 3 hits. Again, by then you might be able to get around the table, grab priority, defeat somebody, get your health back, and win the game with this card alone. Relentless, another capital ship. As you see, I really like capital ships. There's 9 space units. We have all the TIE fighters, Infernal 4. One game I actually managed to draw all of them, controlled space, and just won that way. If you can control space, you're probably going to win. As you see here, there's not a lot of space units in the game yet. So with Relentless, it is a 9-drop, green and a black, 8/8. The first event played by each opponent this round loses all abilities. Again, it's that nope card. You're forcing them to use more resources then they need to. They're using cards out of their hand just to use the card that they want. The big capital ships, that's really what they're doing. You're forcing your opponents to use more resources than they should so that you can use them all up on the capital ship, swing in with something else, swing in with your Darth Vader, swing in with the unit you stole that you set up for. Super awesome way to end the game. And then lastly, kind of for the big banger, and what you're going to use a lot of the budget on this deck on. I mean, everything else is probably $2, $3, $4, but Darth Vader, he is a $70 card for a reason. If you don't know, you're about to find out. He is a 7 green black, 5/7 Force Imperial Sith. So you get the Force tagline, you get the Imperial tagline. He's Darth Vader, of course you do. 5/7 ambush. So as soon as he comes in, you can attack another enemy unit, and then when played, search the top 10 cards of your deck for any number of villainy units with combined cost 3 or less, and play each of them for free. How does that work? All right. So when you drop Darth Vader, you're going to look through the top 10 cards of your deck and play something. So you can play usually like an Inferno 4 and a TIE Fighter, a Viper Probe Droid, a Cell Block Guard, a Death Star Stormtrooper, Stormtrooper Lieutenant, Fifth Brother by itself, mix and match. I mean, that's a 1/6 of your deck. You're going to probably find at least 1 card, hopefully 2, so you can get that whole deal down, but he's bringing out units with you. So he's not just a 5/7, he is a 5+, whatever other units you're bringing in with him. So playing it for free, you're getting more cards onto the battlefields, onto the fields of arena. Can be a closer in itself too, especially, you know, if you're playing him, you're spending that 7, you can get 2 Darth Vaders down on the same turn, and close out the game. So it's kind of looking at the deck as a whole. It's very, very, you know, kind of aggro, slow. You almost look unmenacing at the beginning of the game. You're kind of building things up, putting a few things down, unit here, unit there. But once you get Darth Vader, then Emperor Palpatine onto the battlefield, it's game over. If your opponents let you do that, they don't know how to play Star Wars Unlimited, because it's a game changer. If you can get, you know, 2 Darth Vaders and Emperor Palpatine out on the same turn after your whole setup, that's game winning right there. As 2 of them come out ready to go, you're going to wreck face, can usually take out, if everyone else has been kind of politicking and piddling around, you can win in 1 turn with just a few attacks, stealing their biggest thing, and shut it down. So you're definitely kind of waiting till the end game, letting everything kind of go off behind you, kind of like in Return of the Jedi, when Emperor Palpatine's just sitting in the Death Star, taunting Luke Skywalker. That's what's happening with this deck. That's really how you're playing this deck. Sitting back, letting kind of everything happen around you, kind of plotting and scheming with your hand, drawing everything up that you need, and then finishing off, you know, kind of everything that happened around you, cleaning up the mess, and coming out with the victory with this deck. So let me know if there are any other cards that you think would be good in the Darth Vader deck. We're going to have the entire deck list in the description. Don't forget to check out all the links to help support the channel. Like, subscribe, let us know if there's any other decks you want us to build with the channel. Thank you, Robert, again for doing all the editing, being a best friend for a long time. And until then, may the Force be with you.